Hello, morning, Liz.
Morning.
I think the start of that might have got into the blooper. I think I started our 10-second countdown a little bit after we went live. So, morning. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit more seamless from now on. How are you? And first of all, massive congratulations on the launch of Melon Legal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to the launch as well. And thank you for having me this morning.
You are welcome. Hang on, let me just pop Melon Legal up. For those who aren't Welsh, they might not understand Melon Legal. So do you want to give a quick background on Melon Legal, the name, etc.?
Well, there's a little bit of a hint in the setup that you've got this morning. Welsh for yellow. So melon, as I've spelt it with a Y, is Welsh for yellow. But also, if you spell it with an E dot, you can tell I've got small children. E dot, then that is Welsh for a windmill or some sort of mill. So all the connotations there of hardworking, resilient, dependable. That was all sort of nice things that I wanted to bring in as well.
Fab. And what's your speciality?
All things family law. So anything from getting together, cohabitation agreement, prenuptial agreements, and then everything from separation agreements, divorce, the finances, the arrangements for your children and things like that. Unmarried couples as well comes into it because that's a different area, but all things to do with the family.
And you've been going about a month now, is that right?
Yes, well, no jokes. I started on the 1st of April. But luckily that was a Saturday, so I didn't have to date anything the 1st of April. That was a Saturday. So the 3rd of April was my first official day. So I suppose that's a month and a smidge now.
And your route to Melon Legal. So I came to Tree Law directly from being employed in a business, and then I set Tree Law up. But your route was slightly different. What was yours, Liz?
Yes, your route was the just going for it route, isn't it? I think that I was a bit, yes, I was a bit more cautious in my approach. I went from working in a proper shop for about 13 years, and then I joined a platform. So I had my insurance, compliance, bits and pieces, things like that, accounts all done by the platform, and then I ran sort of the law side of it. So it was sort of, I was eased into running the business for myself. I can't imagine going from employed to bang running it all myself like you've done.
Yeah. It was a bit of a leap of faith, and I think I probably did it with a little bit of blissful ignorance, but there we are. That's what I've done. I know that since starting up Tree Law, and I'm sure you found since being in your last business and now Melon Legal, I get asked a lot about how to start up a law firm and what it's like. So I thought we could chat around our top tips for starting up a law firm.
Perfect.
I think first of all, there's probably a couple of things to say. That both of us have started a law firm, so both of our businesses are SRA compliant. They are law firms. They're not businesses with anything in the background necessarily supporting them. So we're going to talk about how to start up an SRA authorized law firm.
Yes.
So top tips. We were talking about 3 top tips, and I started with 3, and then I've sort of made my way down to about 8 of them, but let's go for 3. So what are your 3?
Well, the first thing I thought of and I made a note of is timescales. I decided sort of October last year that I was going to do it. And then I spent a few days trying to find the book that everybody's read about how to start a law firm from scratch, and it turns out that doesn't exist. So
I was going to say I've never read that.
No, it doesn't exist. So then I thought, right, okay, how did everybody else do it then? And you've got to spend a bit of time working through the steps and working out your timescale. So I would say work out how much notice you need to give your existing firm, and then I would give yourself at least 6 months to be able to, from the very start, from deciding that you were going to do it to when you'd be able to actually set up. And 6 months is a really quick turnaround, I would say. I don't know if you
Yeah.
They're the same. That's, when I give people guidance on how long their divorce is going to take, I can say it's about 6 months, but that's if you do absolutely everything when I ask you to. If
Yeah.
you go on a holiday, if you have anything else to do in your life, which most people do, then it's going to take longer. So 6 months is, I think, is as quick as you can do it, because as soon as the insurance was coming back, I was sending it off to the SRA. As soon as the SRA said anything, I would bang on the phone to the bank. So just be aware that that's how long it's going to take you.
I think I agree. It probably did take me about 6 months as well. But that's not my first. That's not my number one. So I'll do my number one now. So my number one, which sounds a little bit frivolous, is pick a name. And I think that goes in hand with pick a name, and also pick what sort of entity you want to be. Do you want to be a limited company? Like, I'm a limited company. I think you're a limited company as well.
Yes.
Because when you pop onto Companies House, you realize actually loads of names are already taken. So it took me a while to find a name that I was happy with, one that I thought was going to reflect the business that I wanted to create. And I almost felt as soon as I had the name, it became real. It became something I could imagine, something that I could talk about. And then hand in hand with the name went then reserving like the domain name and whatnot, so you could build your website and set your emails up and things like that.
Yeah, it does start feeling real then, isn't it? When you've got it in your head, it doesn't matter if you don't know what it looks like, because your logo is really snazzy. I can see your neon sign behind. That obviously came a bit later, but you can start imagining what sort of thing it would look like, can't you, once you've got the name?
Yeah. And I think I reserve my name at Companies House, which I think is if you look in how to do it, there are businesses that will set you up with a company name for like £50, but it's such a straightforward task to do. So I would say that that's one of the things that just get on and do it yourself. I think in terms of, I joked and said, I think it was a 1-unit task, and I think only the lawyers will get that. Yeah. So 1-unit task means it took no longer than 6 minutes.
If you have to ever explain units to people, they think that you're absolutely bonkers to have lived your life like that. And I still live my life like that. But
yeah. So a little 1-unit task there. So that was my number one. So what was your number two?
Well, actually, going back to your number one, a lot of people like to use their names for their firms, don't they? And because I cheated and done the platform bit first, I knew I didn't want to use my name, because I'd heard it, my accountant telling me, oh, you've got to do this with Saxby Family Law, or you've got to pay this. And I used to jump every time she said my name. So I thought, right, when you come to do this again, don't call yourself Saxby, because I just can't take it every time.
Yeah. Go on. No, I was just going to say, I know what you mean. I think I looked at Dodd Legal, SD Legal, stuff like that already existed. But I think I had that thought when I was setting up my emails. So for my emails, I could have just had Sarah at Tree Law for my email, because I'm the only Sarah. But I've chosen my full name because I'm looking ahead to the future, thinking at some point, when I need to employ somebody, no doubt that person will be called Sarah. So I might immediately cause myself problems, so that I'm using my full name for
Sarah
that.
too.
Yeah, Sarah Dodd too. Sarah too, yeah.
My second point was budgeting, because there are lots of things that you can spend money on, and there are lots of things that you don't need to spend money on. So I know that we've taken a different sort of approach in terms of asking people for help at different stages. I did my SRA application myself. I didn't pay anyone to do it. But I'm not sure that is the best thing to do, because I was having kittens worrying about whether I'd done it right. When I got it back, I had 14 questions. And I know you've told me that you didn't have any questions because you did have someone do it with you. It depends on what your stress levels are like. I'm not sure that was a very good idea that I did it all myself, but I did save some money. And on the flip side of that, I've bought things which may be a little unnecessary, but they did make me feel much better, because I've bought sunglasses, I've got mugs, I've got a couple of umbrellas, and those sorts of things made me feel like it was actually happening, and it was a bit of fun, because it's so so dry and so just stressful trying to set it all up. So choosing where to spend your money and what you think you'll benefit from and what you'll think you'll enjoy is a really important one.
Yeah, I outsource that. So I got the compliance office to help me with my SRA application, and they were brilliant. The person that dealt with it at the compliance office, I think he previously worked at the SRA, so he was knowing exactly what they wanted to see. So yeah, it wasn't incredibly expensive, but yeah, it wasn't cheap. And I think possibly you only really know what a good thing to spend your money was. A good thing to spend your money on was when you're sort of looking back at it. But I think for me, that was probably really helpful. But yeah. And that I had the compliance office that were helping me with my SRA application. Then I had a broker that was helping me with getting my insurance quote, because the SRA application couldn't go ahead until the insurance quote was in place. And the insurance quote you couldn't get until you'd written your business case. So I think my next
you have to be a company before that, and that's going back to the timescales, isn't it? You've got to be a company first, then you've got to do your insurance, then you can do the SRA. The business plan comes somewhere around there.
Yeah, I suppose you should have, the business plan should be the very, very, very first thing, shouldn't it? Because, rather than just thinking, oh, I'm going to start a law firm, you need to put some deeper thought into that and set out exactly what that's going to look like. And, it's right in a business plan. I was just a couple of years out of applying for partnerships. So I've been writing business plans for my partnership application. So it felt like something I was sort of quite comfortable to do at that point. So I didn't find that part too difficult, but that certainly is where you sit down and put down everything that you want to achieve into one document.
Yes, I had to draft one to join the platform business because obviously they're not going to let you in if you can make £5. And I had part of my trying to find the book that everybody had read as to how to set up a law firm. I had gone on a course with Business Wales, which was free. And they had gone through things like business plans, because it's not just lawyers that go on Business Wales, these courses. There were people there that wanted to do, they wanted to make candles for a living. There was baby yoga. Some people, there was a carpenter, those sorts of things. So they were saying to them, you need to do your business plan. And some people hadn't, you'd have to make, I don't know how many candles to be able to pay your mortgage on that. So thinking, right, I can set up a law firm is great, but how much money are you going to make? Because that's the reason you're doing it at the end of the day.
I don't know about you, but I had numerous spreadsheets on the go. I needed to work out how much should it cost to live my life.
Yeah, that's scary and sad.
Like what are the absolute essentials that you need to survive? You've got to pay you've got to pay your mortgage. Yeah, I don't know if you've got any loans. You've got to pay your bills, and then work out what your monthly overheads are going to be for the business. Which can be quite significant. I think my monthly overheads on quite a quiet month are about £1,700.
Yeah, well, this is the bit about budgeting and paying for what's important and keeping. I've been keeping my outgoings for the business really, really tight for this month, and I'll probably do it for the next 3 months. So I'm not joining any subscriptions. I'm not joining any marketing, any networking that's paid at the moment. Because I'm not sure how much of a commitment I can make to those things. That's not to say I'm hiding from everyone. It's just that I'm not committing to an outlay, because as Melin, I've only got 4 weeks worth of work under my belt. So it's important, I think, to work out, rather than thinking, oh gosh, I need to get some clients through the door. You're not going to get them immediately by joining a networking group. But actually, I suppose that comes on to my next point, is knowing who your network is. And making sure that you've got a support network is really important as well.
Yeah. So is that your point number 3, your support network?
It is, but have we done your point 2?
My point 2 is my business case. Sorry, I think I sort of shoved that in and interrupted you. What was your point? What was your point 2? This is a good idea of what it's like. It's like you have to deal with an awful lot of things all at once. So that's an excuse for me sort of muddling our points up. What was your point?
You got the point in, and it was in order, so we're all right. Your network. So networking and your network. Really important to make sure that you've got a network around you that will support you, and a network that will send you work. So making sure, you know, like for a divorce lawyer, you're not going to these networking events and saying, "Ooh, how's the family?" Because people will not talk to you. You're making sure that people know that you're approachable, that you're discreet, and making sure that they will think of you if, you know, their auntie's cat's dog's neighbour needs help with something, some sort of family issue that they're going through. So that's the logic with networking and trying to find clients, but also having a network where you can ask people questions. You know, has anybody got a precedent for whatever? Or, you know, has anyone got, you know, the most up to date, I don't know, Duxbury table? Whatever it is, it's important to know who you can ask these questions to, and who aren't going to say, "Oh, for goodness sake, did you know that?" Who will just help you with it.
And I think, I don't know, because I think I came from an employed business straight into setting up by myself. It felt like I was sort of building my network as I needed it. You know, I think like a year and a half on, I feel like I've built a great network of people that will support me. And actually thinking about it, you know, I've got a network of other lawyers that are in similar situations that were actually akin to running different departments. You know, so if somebody phones me with a family issue, I can say, you know, I recommend you, or I know somebody that I can recommend for wills and probate. I know somebody that I can recommend for commercial stuff, someone that I can recommend for employment. So it's getting that network of people that you can refer things to, which would have been similar to my last job, where I would have referred them just to a different department.
And that's lovely as well, for that to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be just Wales, or doesn't have to be just female-run businesses, but it is nice if you can help other small female businesses, just to help give us a bit of a push, because we don't ask for help very often, and it's really nice working, I think, like in that way.
Yeah, and that's something I've only heard about recently. So on my last LinkedIn Live, when I was speaking to Gemma Casey from, she is the ecosystem manager of NatWest Entrepreneur Hub. And
yes, I've met
you've met Gemma, and she was talking about how women entrepreneurs can deal with running their business differently. For example, women entrepreneurs are less likely to seek funding, financial support, because we'll perceive that as getting into debt rather than, you know, doing it for the growth of the business, which is an interesting point, because I haven't sought external financial support either, and actually perhaps this could lead nicely into my point 3, which I'm actually going to change on the go here. I'm not going to, because my point 3 was get support, and you've spoken about that, but I think get ready for change, like be comfortable with change, because it's more than just a different job. You know, it's a huge change in lifestyle. And I think when we spoke yesterday, you mentioned like sort of this being almost like a lifestyle business. And if I look back to the level of change I've had to my life, we sold a car to invest the money from the car into my business, and we downsized our house and relocated to invest equity from the house into my business. So, you know, I think if you told me that when I started on this journey in April 2021, that would have scared the life out of me. Like, oh my God, those are huge things, moving house, setting up a business. But it's just
that's how invested, isn't it? That's how invested you are. And it's really important, because it can be all consuming. And I think that comes back to a little bit the network of not just the people that will support you in your business, but the network outside of your business. So make sure that you still socialize, keep in touch with people that have nothing to do with law, or nothing to do with your business, because it's not who you are. It is who you are, but it's not the be all and end all. And it's really, so you can get too bogged down in it, and having a day away from it, I think is really healthy, so that you don't get as well. If you've got small children, they don't care. They don't care at all what you do in office hours. So that is very grounding. When you're running around thinking, I'm the boss and I've got to do all these things, and then they just, is there any Nutella in the house? There we are. That's the difficulty for the day. So I think you can get too caught up in the whirlwind of I'm the boss and I need to do everything, whereas really it is your job and it is your lifestyle, but it's not it's not everything.
I haven't learned that yet, and I think
no, I'm cheating a little bit because I've been self-employed for 5 years now. So Melon's only been going for 4 weeks, but the self-employment thing, you've got a little while to go yet, I think, before you can calm down.
It's hard. Like, I even bought myself, I'm looking over there, I've got like an open and close sign for the office, thinking I can mentally close the door at the end of the day and sort of turn the sign around and say, we're shut. Well, that doesn't work. I find it very difficult to draw a line between work and home, especially working from home as well, because I know that you've got use of a flexible office space, which is fab. I decided that was an overhead which I didn't need just yet.
I've only just done it. I've in last September-ish I started that. So yeah, you probably are a while away.
I do really miss that. I do, I still feel like I'm living that lockdown, trying to exist in two sorts of things in one place, which is home and business all in the one place, and that can be quite tricky.
It is tricky, but you've decorated your office beautifully, so that is quite good fun. And that's what they were saying in lockdown, though, wasn't it? That we're not working from home; we're living in our offices.
Yeah.
Which is not really very fun. So you do have to learn to draw a line. My husband used to give me a row all the time because I'd just sneak off. I just need to go and do this email. He's like, you don't. It's 7. What are you doing? In the morning or in the evening. You don't need to run off. Just work in your office hours. But it takes ages and ages because you're the boss and you think you ought to be doing it all. And it's taken me a long time, and I still sneak off.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it is very difficult. Another point on my list, which is an interesting one, not an interesting one really, my 24-month projections. I remember when I was doing my business plan, I think the insurance broker asked me to set out what I thought I was going to bill in the next 24 months.
Oh my gosh.
Which, I mean, that is absolutely no idea. Let's have a guess at this.
Well, all you could do is go back to your, we used to have, we call them the pack of doom, which is very unkind, but that would be our office manager would produce these packs of doom, and it would set out what we build and where we, what. There must have been other things in there, but I can only remember what we build bit. So you could go use those, couldn't you? If you're still employed, if you are given your targets and your whatever else from your employer, then those are a rough guess. But that's with support staff and with trainees.
And a pipeline of work already.
Well, there we go. That's maybe the key there. But so you can, if you halved it, or if you sort of thought, I could be quarter of that, because you don't need. I had 60 cases on the go in my proper job. You don't need that, and you can't do that when you're on your own. There's just not enough hours in the day.
That's
true. On bundles and stuff.
That's true. Actually, somebody asked me, I bumped into somebody at a conference, and they said to me, "How many clients have you got?" And I thought, well, I mean, that it's sort of like a bit like how long's a piece of string? Because you could have 10 clients and be totally overwhelmed with work, or you could have, 1 client, and that's enough to keep you busy.
It takes one to kick off, though, doesn't it? It takes one client to kick off, and you feel like you're drowning.
But you're right. You do need far less than you had before in order to keep yourself busy and to keep the money ticking over, which really, I'm not going to, when you think about sort of commercial law firms and the volumes of stuff that you do and the volume of work and the speed and the quality and how you're expected to, I could talk about that all day long, but I think it shows you that actually you're expected to do far too much. I think, that the volume of what you're given to do is just too much, that you just can't do it and can't do it, not properly, but can't do it with the quality that you'd perhaps want to.
No, I completely agree, because I have fewer clients and they're talking just to me. It doesn't come through a paralegal, a trainee, and then me. I'm talking to them, I'm doing it, so I know exactly what I'm talking about when I go back to them. And that's not to say that I don't want to grow when I don't want to bring on staff who would be talking to the clients, who would be running their own files. I'm not suggesting that I'll always be the one point of contact, but it's making sure that you're setting these standards early in your business, that I'm always going to know broadly what's going on. And that's sort of the level of care that you can expect if you're coming to a niche, a boutique, whatever they're calling it now, little firm. So I do feel that's important, because otherwise people would just go to the big shops. Say, I'll just go there because I know they're a big shop, they probably do it properly. So I think it's tricky.
And one point that I would say as well, I felt in my career before that I was sort of in management, I was managing a team, and I felt like I was moving further and further away from the work. And I got to the point where I thought, I either take this step now, whilst I almost still remember how to do the work. I know that sounds crazy, but I think some people have become managers and have managed for so long that actually to go back and run a file and advise would feel a little bit daunting. So it really felt it's a now or never step. And that's one thing that I'm really enjoying, when I'm not spinning all the plates and doing the marketing and writing various things, is actually sitting down, speaking to clients and, advising. I realize that that's the bit that, I like, that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, I was really strict with myself before I left my firm, and that because I thought I knew it was going to be just me doing everything, that I decided to just try and do it myself. So I didn't use my secretary for ages before I left, just to see if it was doable and to see what, because you run down your cases, don't you, when you're leaving, and everybody knows that's what's going on. So I had the time to do it, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I have to write my own attendance note. It's an absolute joke. But I wouldn't even think to ask anybody to draft my attendance notes for me now. It's just you become accustomed quite quickly to a different way of working, and not a sales pitch, but I did get myself a Remarkable, which cuts down on ages and ages of typing up your notes.
Yeah, I've got a Remarkable as well, which is next to me, but I need to use it more. But I tell you what I do use. I use the dictate facility on Microsoft Word. So I will dictate onto Microsoft Word, I'll do an attendance note, and then I'll just pop that into my case management system. So that's helpful.
I have never tried that.
It's good. Try it.
I will.
There's a little tip for you. Yeah. But I think, and I wanted to start. I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to start a law firm probably for at least 5 years before I did it. And then I feel like the tech caught up. So the tech met me in the middle. Like now, when I say I'm paperless, I mean, it goes without saying I'm paperless. Of course, all my clients' files are paperless. I've got a case management system. My accountancy is done online. I've got the only external support I've got now on a day-to-day basis is my accountant. And it's a lot easier to do now. There are those systems built that are there to make it easier. I could never be sat here with, filing cabinets full of old school files.
My GDPR tingles.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all sort of on a safe, secure system, locked away. Yeah.
Yes.
We've got less than a minute left, Liz. Have you got any last top tips that you'd like to give anybody who is thinking of taking the leap, but just taking this next step? It's not a leap, it's a step.
And it's a Spider-Man leap of faith. And if you're going to do it, just do it.
Yeah. I think you're only going to regret not doing it. Yeah. And as we both say, we're both still highly employable. So if anything happens,
If you need me.
Right, well, our time's up. Let me just thank you. Massive thank you to you, Liz, Melon Legal. Good luck with Melon as it goes on, and we will stay in touch, stay in each other's network. I hope you've all enjoyed watching. Feel free to get in touch with me or Liz if you've got any questions. If you're going through a divorce, get in touch with Liz. If you've got a fallen tree, get in touch with me. Thanks very much, Liz.
See you later. Bye.